G'day you mob, Pete here, and this is another episode of Aussie English, the number one place for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. So today I have a Goss episode for you where I sit down with my old man, my father, Ian Smissen, and we talk about the week's news, whether locally down under here in Australia or non-locally overseas in other parts of the world. Okay, and we sometimes also talk about whatever comes to mind, right? If we can think of something interesting to share with you guys related to us or Australia, we also talk about that in the Goss. So these episodes are specifically designed to try and give you content about many different topics where we're obviously speaking in English and there are multiple people having a natural and spontaneous conversation in English. So it is particularly good to improve your listening skills. In order to complement that though, I really recommend that you join the podcast membership or the academy membership at aussieenglish.com.au, where you will get access to the full transcripts of these episodes, the PDFs, the downloads, and you can also use the online PDF reader to read and listen at the same time. Okay, so if you really want to improve your listening skills fast, get the transcript, listen and read at the same time, keep practicing, and that is the quickest way to level up your English. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on a bit, I've been talking a bit. Let's just get into this episode, guys. Smack the bird, and let's get into it. So have you got, what was it again? Muppet of the Month, Wanker of the Week, and Yobbo of the Year?
I don't have any of those this
You got no
week.
one? You got anyone off the top of your head?
Oh, look,
Plenty of Muppets.
I think Muppet of the Month. Well, it is actually probably Muppet of the Month, but she's a long way behind some of the clubhouse leaders. Yeah, Gladys. I'm afraid. Sorry, Gladys. You joined the party finally. You finally had to, and this is the least stupid thing you've done. But
she, for reference, she is the Premier of New South Wales,
the biggest state in Australia.
And Berejiklian, what's her ancestry? Is she Iranian? I don't know. Forgive me. I don't know.
Could be Iranian.
But she's another one of these stories where I think her parents are immigrants, and she is.
And for all intents and purposes, a lovely woman, a quite competent politician, except she keeps screwing up.
And she lies. Yeah. She gets on the phone with her ex-boyfriend and says, don't tell me about that part, about the corruption and the fact that you were selling real estate back to the government at 10 times the price. Don't tell me that bit. Don't tell me that. Yeah, no. It's on record.
So all of that is her past screw-ups. Today, because there has been another COVID outbreak in Australia, in Sydney, and in the northern beaches in Sydney. And the northern beaches in Sydney is this really interesting place.
Hipsters.
For somebody who doesn't live in Sydney, and all of my Sydney friends and relatives are just going to shake their head and go, you idiot, you just don't understand. So I'm speaking as a foreigner on this one. The northern beaches, they call it the Insular Peninsula.
Insular Peninsula.
Because it really is this little peninsula of land stuck up into the bay, between the bay and the Pacific Ocean, in the north of Sydney, funnily enough. But it has become one of these little insular places where once you go and live there, you never need to leave.
Is this Bondi and everything?
No, Bondi's south.
Okay.
This is up, DY and Palm Beach and so on. So there was an outbreak of COVID in the northern beaches a week or so ago.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's now they're still trying to trace where it originally came from. There's some hypotheses of that. It appears that with DNA testing, or RNA testing, presumably, on the virus, that they've recognised that it's an American strain of the virus that has come here, which, it had to come from somewhere because it wasn't a community. Yeah. There was no other evidence that it had come from somebody in the community other than the fact that a bunch of people have it now.
But that was the problem that we'd run into quickly. It was that we've got all of these, I think 40,000 Australians still coming back to Australia, and that obviously a lot of them are bringing back with them COVID, so they have to quarantine, but it gets out.
They are supposed to be quarantining, but it appears that, and the most likely explanation that I've read over the last few days is that the passengers on planes who are coming back, Australian passengers coming back, are quarantining either in hotels or they are self-quarantining.
Okay.
But what's the most polite way of putting this? The employees of the airlines who are arriving in Australia are not necessarily obeying those quarantines.
Despite being on the plane with those people for 24 hours.
And despite from coming from overseas themselves, because the Australian airlines are not flying.
So is that what they think the problem was, that you had a bunch of these hostesses or flight attendants?
It was flight crew.
Partying in the northern beaches one way or another. With the hipsters.
Yeah, and the trouble is that they are only here for 2 days,
and then
they turn around and get back on a plane and go again.
Yeah, see you guys, enjoy.
They don't have they. I'm sure they perceive themselves as being exempt from a 14-day quarantine if you're only here for 2 days, but they don't sit in a hotel room. They'll be going out. So all of that is completely hypothetical, but it sounds like a reasonable explanation. So that's an aside. There is an outbreak there. They have had a semi-lockdown, but this is the lockdown you have when it's not really a lockdown.
This is the Russian dolls kind of thing, right? Of like having a lockdown within an area that's more restricted within a state, and then other states are like, "Ooh, we can close that state."
Now, all that's okay, but what's happened today is we're going to a modest changes, I think was the quote used, to the restrictions. Basically, loosen them off for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. So the 3-day traditional holiday period in Australia over the Christmas period. And so they're actually saying, well, we recognise that you are going to have family get-togethers and so on, and we'll let you have more people in your house over that period of time.
Got to get on the beers.
Now, seriously, yes, we have to recognise that people are going to be seriously ticked off if they can't have their typical Christmas get-togethers and so on. But if you're locking them down today...
Tomorrow
is okay, which is Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
And the day after that is okay for you to go and have these things. And the day after that is okay. The day after that, no, you got to go back to these other restrictions. It's just bizarre.
Super spreader event.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where you just... Like, apart from anything else, family get-togethers are going to have far less social distancing than any other get-together you can imagine.
There's a lot of aerosolized saliva that is spread throughout the atmosphere.
There is usually a considerable amount of alcohol consumed, which means that social distancing is likely to be even less.
I fucking hate those guys. When you go out drinking with your mates and one dude who gets drunk and gets too close to your face in order to talk to you, and you're like, mate, I can hear you. Just step back. Stop licking my eyeballs.
All he wants to do is kiss you and tell you how much he loves you.
That's another level. But the level of just getting too close and talking in your face, and you're like, you're spitting in my eyes. Yeah. Anyway, so Gladys is the Muppet of the Month and Wanker of the Week, is she?
Yeah, she's got the combination of those.
Hopefully we don't get sued Gladys, for defamation.
No, well, there's no defamation. I'm not telling anything that you can't read yourself. That
alleged Wanker of the Week.
Yeah, that one's just weird. It's like, if you're going to have a bloody lockdown, have a lockdown. And I was talking about it to Joe, your mum, on the way. We had my car serviced this afternoon. We go driving in there. And I said, if I had been... this is highly unlikely this is ever going to happen. If I had been the Premier of New South Wales in this circumstance, I would have basically said, we recognise that everybody wants to do this. Mm-hmm. However, under the present circumstances, it would be extremely foolish to do so. Mm-hmm. We can look at Victoria as an example. This is not blowing our trumpet, but this is basically saying...
We should be.
We should. But this is basically saying the Premier of Victoria created the world's tightest lockdown that went for months. And everybody whined about it, but he still had more than 2/3 support. When he only won the last election with about 55% of the vote, but he had more than 67% of people every week going, yep, we're supporting him. So she should have got that in her head that said, you don't lose votes and you don't lose popularity by doing the tough things. You actually increase your popularity by doing it.
I think with Dan Andrews, every time he gets mentioned, there should be that image of the cockatoos sitting on the Vegemite, the Vegemite towel in the video on YouTube where he just says, fucking legend!
Yeah, fucking legend! Fucking legend!
So everyone's like, Dan Andrews, fucking legend! Yeah. That'd be amazing.
It would. Now you've got me going.
Fucking legend!
Fucking legend!
Look that video up. So, just type in fucking legend cockatoo. You'll find it.
Yeah. And what she should have done is gone, all right, we're going to have these really tough things. Please don't do this. We're going to actually make it impossible for you to do it by saying you're going to be breaking the law. However, we recognise that this is a really important time of the year. Mm-hmm. As soon as we possibly can, I will create an ad hoc public holiday so you can have your Christmas Day, whether it's the middle of January or whenever it is, once we get to do this. I think everybody would have gone, okay, yeah, we'll do it. But thanks. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on school holidays in January anyway. Just give them a public holiday. And it's a big, but we're going to pay for that. Pay for it. You're going to pay a lot more how much did the Victorian government? They spent billions of dollars trying to solve the problem they had. You're going to spend a lot more than compensating for people to have another day off during the year. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, everybody does the right thing, and
at the moment it
just disappears.
Tens of cases, no deaths.
Yeah,
as far as I know.
and tens of new cases per day. I think there were 8 today.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
And they had the biggest turnout. Respect to the northern beaches. They had
40,000 people a day.
Turn out,
and that wasn't.
And some of them were waiting 7 hours.
They had, I think, at one stage they reckon they had 100,000 people queuing up.
Yeah, and they just bailed. They were like,
and they just went, we can't do this. Yeah, sitting there for 6 or 7 hours waiting to do it. So
but doing
people had done the right thing.
That Aussie spirit, that mateship, that responsibility,
spirit. The insular peninsula.
I'll do my bit for the country.
I will.
I'll get that bloody nose swab where they rub it against my brain.
I'll sit in my car and do nothing for 7 hours.
Bring the computer. Yeah. All right, we might have to finish up there. The battery's flashing at me, so I'm going to have to switch batteries.
Good on you, Gladys. Fix it.
Yeah, good luck. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Me and Noah, he's here as well, smacking the microphone with his spoon. That was another episode of the Goss. Don't forget, guys, if you want to get access to all of the Goss episodes, the transcripts, the MP3s, the videos, the entire episodes from 1 to, I think we're up to like 40-something now. Yeah, that's it, mate. Just go to aussieenglish.com.au and you can sign up for those. Anyway, I'm Pete, your host. This has been another Aussie English episode. It's a pleasure, and I'll see you soon.